Hey friends! I'm coming at you a little later, which you wouldn't know if I hadn't told you that, but I typically do these updates right on the day that I switch weeks, and I'm actually doing it a couple days later because I've been waiting for almost a whole week now, for 5 days, let's say. I've been waiting for 5 days now for my NIPT results, which is the non-invasive prenatal testing result. That's the blood work where they check for chromosomal abnormalities, among other things. They also double check, I guess, in our case, the sex of the baby, because we already did the sneak peek gender reveal. You can see that right up here. So all of these things, very, very important things, in particular the chromosomal stuff, it takes between 3 and 10 days to get your results back. And I have been, when I tell you I've been obsessively checking the portal to see when the results are uploaded, I've been checking honestly at least once an hour for the last 5 days. The only time I don't check it is once my husband's asleep, because I know that if the results come in, I'm gonna want him there to open them with me and process everything with me. And so the moment he goes to bed, I stop checking, and I don't check again until he wakes up the next day. But otherwise, if we're both up, I'm pretty much checking constantly. And like I said, it's been 5 days now since my blood draw, and still no results. I did learn that I am apparently slightly anemic, but that's not surprising to me, because even though I'm trying really hard to maintain a balanced diet, I am preferring to eat fruits and veggies over protein. So I'm having to really work at, I'm not slacking on the protein, but I'm having to be very intentional and deliberate about making sure I get protein at every meal, because even though I'm not like averse to it, it's not grossing me out or anything, I would just really rather not eat it. I would much rather fill my belly with like watermelon and like stuff like that. So it's not surprising to me at all that I'm a little anemic. So I know now that I have to prioritize protein even more. But that's the only thing that really lit up as far as the blood work is concerned. And of course, like I said, we're waiting for the actual NIPT results now. I'm a little miffed about that whole situation, because I was meant to go in this last Monday for the blood draw, and I called the office the Friday prior, so actually the day that I recorded the last update. I called them and I asked them, like, is the order there? Because it seems like it's not there. Like, I went through the order online and I wanted to make sure that I didn't drive all the way down to the lab only to be told, whoops, the order's not here, we can't do this blood draw. So I called them and I asked them, hey, what's going on? And they told me, oh, actually for the NIPT, before we do the blood draw, before we put the order in even, you have to speak to the doctor, because the doctor has to ask you some sorts of questions or whatever that goes along with the test. So call us on Monday, because of course by the time all this was discovered, it was like end of day Friday. So they said, call us on Monday so we can make sure to put that order in for you. So I did that, and they said, yeah, you have to see the doctor first. Come in tomorrow, being Tuesday morning, at 9 a.m., you'll see the doctor, and directly after you see her, you'll get your blood drawn. Cool. So I do that, and I get there, and they tell me, why are you here? You don't have an appointment. I'm like, I sure do. Here's the email telling me to come in at 9, and I spoke to so-and-so yesterday, and she was the one that set it up for me. Oh, well, she was wrong, because you don't have an appointment today. So I was very frustrated. And I don't know if the person at the front desk was having a bad day or what, but she seemed determined to be unhelpful. So I didn't quite cause a stink, but I made it pretty clear that, somebody was in the wrong here and it wasn't me. I literally had the paperwork showing that, like, I had the appointment. So long story short, eventually they tell me the doctor's not going to see you, but we did put the order in for you. Go ahead to the lab and get your blood drawn. So I did that, and earlier today, actually, I checked my lab portal, not the doctor portal, And the lab portal says that the results are pending some missing information. I don't know if that's like the default thing that it says when they're still processing results, or is that missing information those questions that I was not asked before the blood draw because the doctor refused to see me, or because the front desk refused to let me see the doctor, or because whatever. So I've already messaged my doctor about that. I sent a screenshot of the thing that was on the portal, and I asked, like, is this to do with the fact that I wasn't able to see you on Tuesday like you guys told me to come in for, because still waiting for my results. So we'll see what she says. But that's very frustrating because I did what I was supposed to. I showed up when I was supposed to, and etc. I was prepared to cooperate, answer whatever questions and so on. And yet here we are days later waiting for these super important results, and potentially they're being delayed because either the office or the doctor herself or whatever dropped the ball. So that's not ideal. But hopefully by the end of this week we'll get that sorted out, because actually the next time you guys see me, it will be right after our next scan. We're set to do, in less than a week, our 12-week scan, and that, in conjunction with the NIPT, is what kind of solidifies the chromosomal abnormality risk potential or not, etc., because they call it a nuchal screening. They basically measure the baby's neck, they measure the baby's nose and like nose bridge and everything, and all of these features could provide clues as to whether or not a chromosomal abnormality exists. The thing is that the scan, of course, is not as... It's thundering like crazy, by the way, in case you guys can hear that. The scan on its own is not as precise as the NIPT, but not everybody opts for the NIPT because it's not like a standard test. It's not a test that the insurance typically covers unless there's some sort of specific necessity for it. In my case, I'm an older mom and I've had losses in the past due to chromosomal stuff, so whether it's covered or not, I still don't know. I might receive a bill for it, but regardless, I wanted to make sure that I had that testing done. So between the two of those tests, between the scan and the blood work, we'll know for sure what's going on with baby. And obviously, I'm extremely hopeful that everything is just fine, but we won't know for certain until, I guess, a little under a week from now. So I've been very, very nervous and very, very anxious and trying not to think about it, but also it's like been at the front of my mind because how could it not be? So all that's going on. That's like the big headline of the week. As far as symptoms, the AC is about to kick on, so I'm sorry about that. I was trying to get through this fast before the AC kicked on, but it is what it is. So the fatigue this week especially has been out of control. I spent my entire day off this week just sleeping. I basically woke up, like got out of bed, made everybody breakfast, ate breakfast, went back to sleep. Woke up at lunchtime, same thing. I spent the entire day asleep. And you'd think, oh well, you need it. You're catching up on rest, you'll feel better the next day. Nope, I was just as tired the next day as if I'd not slept at all. I've been really, really beat this week. I feel like that is for sure the predominant symptom I've experienced, because even the nausea, I will say I threw up this week. Like, I've been gagging here and there, but like barely any actual like throwing up. But no, this week I threw up quite a bit. But with all that being said, the nausea itself feels a lot more under control. Maybe it's because I'm making it a point to try to snack on things before I get too hungry, because being very hungry is pretty much a guarantee that I'm going to be super, super nauseous, which then sucks because I'm so nauseous I don't want to eat, but eating is the only thing that really makes me feel better. So the nausea, even though I'm still feeling it, I feel like it's not happening as frequently and I'm managing it better. The fatigue though is just out of this world. So that for sure has been the number one thing. And then the other thing that I've been experiencing, which I think I mentioned in the last update, I haven't been able to hear out of my left ear for days now, probably over a week at this point. So today I actually made the executive decision to go to the urgent care, which I had been avoiding because the last thing I want is to go to the urgent care during a COVID surge, which we are currently in right now, and come away from the urgent care sicker than I went in. And I feel fine otherwise, like I'm not in any pain or anything, but the not hearing was really bothering me. So I made sure that I went at a time of day and on a day of the week where they were less likely to be busy. And sure enough, when I got there, it was like one other lady in the waiting room and then me. They called me in right away. The doctor checked me out and told me that he doesn't see any infection. So the best he could do is like offer to flush out my ear so that there is any liquid lingering anywhere, because that's what it feels like to me. Like it feels like a lot of fullness because my ear's full of liquid. Then hopefully that flushing would help coerce the fluid out. And so he did that. I wish he'd done both ears because it was like a spa-like experience. It felt wonderful. And it helped immediately. He did see after the fact, like once he was able to get a better look at everything, he did see that my eardrum was slightly irritated. So he made sure to prescribe drops, ear drops, because I didn't want systemic antibiotics since I'm pregnant. And the ear drops that he prescribed are basically high-powered vinegar. So he was making sure that like if we're going to give you something, we want to make sure it's something that's safe for the baby, which obviously that's, you know, that's what I want as well. So I haven't picked up those drops yet because by the time the pharmacy filled the order, they were closing, so we haven't gotten a chance, but I guess tomorrow I'll pick those up. However, pretty much as soon as I got home from the urgent care, my ear started clogging up again. And the doctor did say that sometimes it's like rhinitis of pregnancy where you're just stuffy the whole time or for several weeks or months at a time, which when I was pregnant with my son, I did have a stuffy nose, no joke, for like 3 or 4 months straight. And there was no treating it. There was nothing to do about it. It was just a symptom of the pregnancy. That's not one of those things that they tell you will happen, but it's actually pretty common. So he was telling me it's possible that what you're feeling is something to do with that. It's possible it's like allergens in your house. It could be any number of things, but it's definitely not an infection. I don't want to treat you for an ear infection because it's not an ear infection, which I'm super on board with that. Yes, please. I don't want extra interventions if I don't need them. So I'm going to make an appointment with an ear, nose, and throat specialist because it's about dang time. I don't know why I don't have one already with all the numbers of problems I've had with my ears for my whole life. But for now, the flushing of the ear definitely helped. And I'm not 100%, it's not 100%, but it helped. And I'm hoping that in conjunction with the drops will be enough to make all this bearable. But yeah, I was hoping to just see my OB, and if I'd gotten to see her when I was supposed to last week, I'd have brought it up with her then. But when I messaged her about it, she was like, you need to go to urgent care. Like, you can't just wait. If you can't hear, you can't just wait until you come and see me. Like, you need to go see something about that right now. So that's what I did. And I'm trying to think what else. Oh, you know what I haven't done is shown you guys the situation. So yeah, keep in mind I'm 11 weeks and change now because I typically show you guys all this the very day of, and I'm a little late this week, but we're 11 weeks. She's the size of, what is it? A gem from Snow White. That's a little arbitrary. A Hot Wheels car. She's as big as a Hot Wheel. She's as big as a golf ball. And according to my doctor's office portal, she's the size of a lime, which is pretty wild. She's still measuring, like they measure the baby at this stage from head to booty because the baby is still kind of curled up. So obviously if you were measuring her from head to toe, she'd be bigger, but that's not the position she's currently in. So imagine a little fetal position. It's a fetus. Imagine the fetal position, a little lime. That's how big she is. That's pretty intense. So yeah, so she's getting quite big, and apparently about more than 1.5 inches long, weighing more than 1/4 ounce. Hair follicles are growing all over her body. She has tiny hands and feet with individual fingers and toes because before they're like webbed, and now they've all kind of like unleashed on themselves. Ovaries are developing if it's a girl, which we know it is. Fingernails and toenails are developing, and by the end of week 11 she'll have her hands and feet in front of her body. Her ears will nearly be in their final shape. Her nasal passages will be opening. Her tongue and her palate in her mouth will be present. She's starting to straighten out a little bit, and she can now stretch, somersault, and do forward rolls. That's very exciting. And the most exciting thing, I think, that I haven't talked about yet is today, actually, we finalized baby girl's name, which I'm obviously not going to be sharing with you guys because I've never shared my son's name. I'm not going to share my daughter's name. But we were between two names. We had picked out her middle name years ago, basically. So we knew what the middle name was going to be all along. And for the past several years, every once in a while, we'd say, well, what do you think of this name? Oh, I like it. What do you think of that name? Oh, that's cute. But we never really had like a serious conversation about, oh, this is going to be her name if we ever have a daughter. So my husband came to me with a name a couple weeks ago, and I really liked the sound of it. I liked it with the middle name as well, but something about it was preventing me from just being sold. And I think it's because there was another name that I really, really liked that I think also flowed very nicely with the middle name. But my husband just didn't like it. It's not that it was a hard sell for him, it's that he didn't like the name. So we were back and forth. We saw my dad over the weekend and we told him both names, and he actually didn't even clock the name I said. He really liked my husband's idea for a name, which again, I'm not against it. My husband's against the name I liked. I'm not against the name my husband liked. I was just kind of waiting for like divine inspiration of like, yes, you're right, that's her name. Because when we named my son all those years ago, my husband said, what do you think about this? And immediately I was like, yes, that's the name. So I was waiting for that like lightning bolt moment where we both went, yes, exactly, that's her name. And I didn't immediately feel it with my husband's suggestion. But today, we've been asking my son for like 2 weeks, what do you think if we name baby sister this? And he's completely ignored us every time, which, fine, understandable. But today, for whatever reason, my husband asked him, and he really, really responded. He was like, yeah, I like it. And we were like, yeah, and her nickname could be this. And my son just started giggling and he covered his face and he got all excited, and we were like, that's it. Now I'm sold. Now that I've seen him react like that, that's what I needed. Now I'm sold. That's her name. So baby girl has a name. Officially. Feels very, very early. With my son, we didn't even know that he was a boy at this stage, let alone his name. And yet we've already got her name picked out. Like, it's wild how fast this all feels. But yeah, I know this was a long one. I'm really sorry. I didn't intend for it to be, and I really didn't expect it to be. But that is the week 11 update. So the next time you guys see us, hopefully we'll have great news about the NIPT results, and hopefully I'll be showing you guys another scan, and we will be pretty much scooting out of the first trimester, which is also pretty intense to even think about. But yeah, that's what's going on. So thank you guys for following along, and we'll talk again really soon. Bye!